The man dubbed the Miami Zombie is suspected of being on bath salts when he attacked and chewed off more than 50% of a homeless man's face. Now, while the topic remains surrounded in controversy, UT students here on campus remain split. In April, an APD officer responded to a domestic disturbance in East Austin. He went to the wrong address, and at that address, he says a 7-year-old blue heeler named Cisco lunged at him. Now, the event is free and open to the public, and it begins at 8:30 p.m. and ends at 10 p.m. And while no glass or alcohol is allowed, attendees are encouraged to come out and come early and claim a grassy spot to help Austin celebrate this patriotic holiday. With the UT Board of Regents pledging $30 million a year, plans are now in motion to build a UT medical school in Austin. For Ho, not being able to organize his silverware or take 6 cups of a drink can cause him to endure intense anxiety and guilt that could last up to 1 week. Good evening and welcome to Texas News Watch. I'm Kacey Cherry. The results for the new STAR test were released last week, and according to TEA, only a little more than half of Texas students passed the writing portion of the exam. In April, the Austin City Council drafted an ordinance for pedicabs for the first time in 20 years. That means less competition for the drivers, but new regulations how they do their job. 200 is the average number of people who drown each year in the state of Texas, from Memorial Day to Labor Day. Just last year, 8 of those people were in Lake Travis. The campaign calls for gender-inclusive housing and a hallway right here in the Jester dormitory. Wally says the current housing plan can make gender nonconforming and trans students uncomfortable and isolated. Now finding a parking spot is as easy as checking your cell phone. 15% of UT students are not covered by health insurance. Now, Dr. Maxwell emphasizes that treatment programs are essential for recovering meth users, like this one. And Central Texas isn't out of the woods yet for deadly fires. Brittany Martin shows us how some are preparing.
He was completely psychotic, to say the least. He was very paranoid. He thought people were out to get him. He was looking over his shoulder all the time. He was sweating profusely.
Those are just a few of the many side effects from a new emerging drug called bath salts, a highly addictive mix of chemicals that beats regulation because it is labeled as not for human consumption.
The user doesn't know how potent it is. They don't know what they're putting in their body is the bottom line.
A potency that is most similar to meth, but bath salts are much cheaper, readily available, and last twice as long, up to 24 hours. A dangerous combination that has the law enforcement on edge.
We explain to the officers, this is what you could be dealing with, understand that it's out there, be aware of it, and be ready to respond to it accordingly. This is one of the many bath salts out on the market. Advertised in smoke shops as body powder, this only costs $20 and is completely legal because it does not use the banned ingredients by the EDA. With the drug becoming increasingly more common, Officer Mabe warns against experimenting with the substance. The first time you try to use bath salts thinking, oh, I'm going to try it, could also be the last time you ever do anything in your life.
When I started coming to reading and writing, it made me feel like nobody. It made me feel so low because I wish I could not to do a better job.
Gabriel Rojas is one of 32 million adults in the U.S. who are illiterate. Born in Mexico and arrived in the U.S. when he was 15, Rojas has never had a formal education. A testament that Gahr believes is because adult education is underrepresented in the U.S.
I always say adult education is the wild, wild west. There's less standards, there's less accountability, there's less money.
Gahr works for Aspire, a nonprofit that provides literacy programs like ESL classes for families. And with over 20% of adult Hispanics non-literate, Gahr says an adult's literacy influences the entire family.
It's just the first domino when you start educating an adult head of household, then everything starts to transform. When that happens, families start to change.
They are able to help their children with homework, and so they're able to participate in their children's education, and it's just a huge vehicle for empowerment. A person below the basic level of literacy may struggle to read a prescription bottle, to know how to take their medicine, or navigate a bus route, or, like Rojas, to truly be able to communicate with others. The motivation behind Rojas's goal to go to school to learn to read and write, not only for himself, but for his 2 young granddaughters.
I hope I can do it that way. I can do better, try to see I can raise my grandchildren better, try to bring some more income. Myself feel like a different person.
Kacey Cherry, Texas News Watch.
You got it. Good memory. How about?
Coach, how about that?
Larissa Valadez has had to go through more than a typical 7-year-old.
When she started pulling away and everything from everything, she started secluding herself because she was having like a lot of mixed emotions. Like, why wasn't she wanted? Why wasn't he there? He told her he was going to be there.
With her father newly released from prison and never having been a part of her life, Valadez's Astros baseball team has been her saving grace, according to her mother, which is exactly the goal of nonprofit Reviving Baseball in Inner Cities, or RBI, which aims to use baseball to empower young kids. The nonprofit is nationwide, and it helps keep at-risk youth off the streets and on the field.
If you have a positive distraction for them, I think that's key to keeping them, on the straight and narrow. And when they come out of this diamond, nothing else matters. It's fun.
Keeps his mind focused on better stuff than, I guess, doing something he shouldn't be doing.
As for Valadez, her mother says baseball's taught her to overcome her obstacles. And as the only girl on an all-boys team, Valadez is only focused on one thing.
I like to beat the boys instead of girls. They're too boring.
Kacey Cherry, Texas News Watch.
Good job, buddy.